Welcome to the Financial Freedom Podcast with your host, Lorna Poole, sharing the secrets to creating wealth, investing, and that all-important money mindset. To find out more and accelerate your journey to financial freedom, head on over to www.lornapoole.com to get started. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Financial Freedom Podcast. Are you looking to create financial freedom so that you can live off your net worth? Well, my guest expert today is going to help you build your financial foundation. Andrew Martin, the founder and president of Atlas Financial Strategies, LLC, is a financial advisor who has a passion for helping clients gain clarity on their financial plan, helping them find creative solutions to address their needs. Andrew has been voted Pensacola's best financial advisor 6 times over the last 6 years. He holds a BS in business administration from the University of South Alabama. Andrew lives in Pensacola area with his wife Amanda, daughter Madelyn, and son Theodore. Andrew, great to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Well, people are trying to build their net worth. They want to live financially free. There are some foundational steps we need to be taken. Why and what are they?
Sure. So, a lot of people reach out to me, and I think, as it pertains to building wealth, people want to focus on, how to make as much money as possible. And not that those things aren't important and, you shouldn't be trying to do those things, but without a proper financial foundation, all those things can kind of, they're just overly exposed to a lot of risks unnecessarily. So, that's what the financial foundation, and again, like I was telling you, whether I'm speaking with a very successful business owner or a affluent individual or even just kind of your normal everyday person, that first meeting I have with them, we're talking about this same thing. We're going through the same process regardless of, kind of where you are in your financial journey, because again, if there's cracks in your financial foundation, it's not a very strong or stable financial home you have.
No.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're correct. When you mean financial foundation, what exactly are we talking about?
Yeah. So there's, or at least in, when we're talking to clients, there's 6 bricks of your financial foundation. So things like your property casualty insurance, your health insurance, your life insurance, your disability insurance, your emergency fund, and your estate planning. So I'll go through the process with people. And so we talk about, property casualty insurance. So like home and auto insurance. And so I'll ask people, do you think your home is your largest asset or at least one of your largest assets?
Okay. Just before you go into this.
Yes.
So somebody say who doesn't have their insurance in place, right? And they don't have their estate planning and they don't have their money fund. What are the consequences? Like, give me an example of, so if you're investing, I'm presuming you could lose it all because there's no protection there. Is that it? Yeah,
well, exactly right. So if you don't have, so let's take emergency fund as an example. So, with everything that's going on per the virus and everything else, and people potentially being out of jobs or being furloughed or whatever the case is. Yeah. The rule of thumb on the emergency fund is 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses tucked away somewhere in case things like this happen. You go without a job or big unexpected bill or whatever. So, if you don't have a good emergency fund and you go without a job for a couple months, most Americans don't even have, a month or two's worth of living expenses somewhere. So if you go without a job for 3 months, that's very difficult. And then, you have to make some hard decisions. So yeah, same thing with insurances, right? I mean, let's take life insurance, for instance. You don't have life insurance. It takes you however many years it takes you to build up $50,000 or $100,000 in your investments. And then, something happens to you and you leave behind a spouse and maybe some children or something like that. Depending on what types of investments those are, they need to liquidate them. If they're illiquid assets like a business or real estate, that complicates issues, even if they're liquid.
It can't be done in a hurry.
Right. You have to do some sort of fire sale or something like that. And Even if they're investments like stocks or things like that, you still need to liquidate them. Hopefully the market is up when you liquidate them.
Yeah.
But then, that lasts you maybe a year or two, that 50 or 100,000 versus if you could have paid a small premium for ample life insurance policy, there could have been some sort of sense of normalcy, at least financially, for those that you leave behind. So that's where your financial foundation comes in, is just to protect yourself from the unexpected.
Brilliant. Okay, so let's go through these. So let's talk about the insurance part. What type of insurance were you talking about? Say that again.
So again, property casualty insurance, so like home and auto, maybe an umbrella policy, health insurance, life insurance, disability insurance, again, emergency fund, and estate planning.
That can be overwhelming for people.
Yeah, well, at least in America, most people have to have home and auto insurance for the most part. Most people typically have health insurance.
Same here. Yeah.
Okay, so same deal there. And so, again, I just take people through this kind of mental process. And I think it helps kind of make the light bulb go off. Because again, I ask them, if your home is your largest asset, or at least one of your largest assets, most people would say yes. All right, your home is worth X. Let me ask you a stupid question. Do you insure your home for its full value? And of course, most people are like, of course I do. And I ask, and I even say, all right, this is a stupid question, but why does it make sense to insure your home for its full value as opposed to anything less? And they gotta, typically look at me a little funny, and they're like, well, because, I need the full replacement value of my home if something were to happen to you. And I say, okay, so it makes sense to insure your largest asset for its full value. And let's say their home is worth $400,000. All right. So your home's worth $400,000. And then I talk to that person, we get to the life insurance and disability. And they say, I ask them how much they make. They'll say they make $100,000. And I say, okay, well, you plan to work for at least the next 10 years, correct? And they say, yeah, of course, typically, much longer than that. But to make math simple, let's say 10 years. All right. So over the next 10 years, if your income does not change, you will produce $1 million for your family. So is your home your largest asset, or is your ability to work and produce income your largest asset? And most people, you can see the light bulb go off and they're like, oh, well, yeah, I guess my income is my largest asset. That was the whole point of that exercise, is just because people don't think about themselves and their ability to earn income as an asset. And it is arguably, especially in your younger years, your most valuable asset, and the asset that should be protected the most. So that's where your life insurance and disability comes in. If you die, your income will stop, and no amount of money replaces a person, but at least it could replace your income for your family, pay debts, leave money to kids for college or a head start to life or whatever, and then replace, your spouse and kids, give them some sort of income.
When someone's taking out life insurance, I've been given advice that you take it for the amount of when your net worth is able to sustain you.
Oh, sure. So
you don't need it any longer, because sometimes we can be sold a lot of extras that we don't necessarily need. What's your take?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So in other words, self-insure when you have enough money sitting around somewhere else that, whoever would be fine if something were to happen to you. So in other words, your income doesn't need to be replaced at that point. Yeah, I agree. I mean, if your life insurance need was $1 million, well, if you had, $1 million sitting around somewhere, that your family needed, well, then, maybe you don't need the life insurance. And so, but in your earlier years, before you get that $1 million, that's when
it's a biggie, life insurance.
Yep. Yeah. And same thing with disability insurance. So again, if you can't work and produce income, where's the income come from? So the disability is meant to replace at least, a portion of that, the majority of it. And then we talked about the emergency fund, and then your estate planning.
Yeah, let's talk about that. What do you mean by estate planning? So is this your will, is it?
Yeah, will, living will, powers of attorney, both healthcare and financial, and then maybe even a trust. And so
so explain all these.
Sure. So at least your basic last will and testament is a must, because I mean, again, you can die what's called intestate, so without a will, and then it's basically up to the state, or at least in the U.S., kind of what happens to your stuff, and it just creates a lot of unnecessary headache and drama and stuff for your family that could have been easily taken care of just by going to get your estate planning done. A living will is kind of like, what do you want to happen to you if you're alive but incapacitated? Powers of attorney, healthcare and financial is, who do I want if I'm incapacitated? Who do I trust to kind of make these decisions for me? So presumably a spouse or family member or somebody, that you really trust. So, I mean, those are the basics that just about.
Why do you think people put this off? Like, is it because it's a hard decision to make, or it's so final, or because they think it's far away? Like, what?
Yeah, I think a couple reasons. I think everybody's so busy doing everything else that adding one more thing to the list is hard, right? One more thing to the to-do list. Another thing is, it's talking about your death and incapacitation. So nobody wants to nobody wants to think about that. And then there's things that you actually have to put some thought into, like, what do I want to happen once I die or become incapacitated? And there's things you need to think out. So, yeah.
Do you not put everybody off on your first meeting with all this conversation? I'm only joking.
Say that again?
I said, do you not put people off with all this big, heavy conversation on the first? No, but it's so important. It's huge. It's huge.
Yeah. And it's one of those things that, I mean, I've refused to work with people who don't have, that refuse to take care of their financial foundation. So, I mean, if they just keep putting off or just refuse to get their estate planning done or their insurances or whatever it is, we'll kind of, politely part ways, because that's just, again, in my opinion, that's just so important that, and most people realize, I think we have a conversation in such a way that they realize, you know what, this is important. We do need to get it taken care of. And then we do our best to, again, politely hold people accountable and follow up with them. Hey, did you get that done? People just need a little push sometimes.
Yeah. So your 6 bricks are all the different types of insurance, the estate planning, which is your will, living, power of attorney, and so forth, and the emergency fund, so that if you do lose your job or something, big event comes up, you have at least 3 to 6 months there. And like COVID is a perfect example of people who are not set up, and then they lose their business, their job, whatever. Like, you're kind of screwed with money's not coming in the door. Yeah.
Yeah, and same thing with businesses. For the business owners listening, it's the same deal. I mean, businesses should hold a certain amount of cash kind of on the balance sheet.
Yes.
For such things. And so, I forget what the actual statistic is. I think, and I forget who did the study, but I think it showed that the average American has an average of couldn't cover an unexpected $400 bill because they don't have enough in savings. And, most people, I think, have less than 1 month's worth of living expenses tucked away somewhere. So, I mean, they're really living paycheck to paycheck. So, I mean, if your income becomes disrupted at all, that can be catastrophic to your financial planning. And so, 3 to 6 months is just kind of a baseline. I have some people that, have a certain number that makes them feel warm and fuzzy to have sitting around somewhere.
And that's another thing, actually, Andrew, is the peace of mind and your mental health around it as well. Because so many people struggle with money or have a lot of fear around money. So having that safety net and having the insurance and, having everything, all that foundation work sorted, can give you great peace of mind, which is really what ultimately we want.
Absolutely. And speaking of peace of mind, for younger people especially, so we talked about protecting income, and income being, arguably the most important aspect of their financial plan, especially in their younger years until they build up, enough assets. But, kind of same deal. I think when most people talk to particularly younger people, if they're working with a financial advisor, a lot of times they're confused or frustrated or, they're wondering why they're not, they feel like they don't get the advice and the help that they need. But I will say for younger people, I think that arguably the most important aspect of their planning is what's called cash flow management. So again, that income coming in, how is it best utilized? Paying off debt, investing. If we have multiple debts, which debts should be prioritized? If we're investing, what are we investing in? Saving, things like that. That again, cash flow management for younger people is arguably, because again, for retirees, the majority of their planning is centered around assets and how to manage those assets, because that's what but younger people, they probably haven't built up a substantial amount of assets. And not that we're not talking about managing their assets, whatever assets they do have, but again, arguably the most important part of the plan is managing cash flow. And again, speaking of peace of mind, I think most people feel like, I know I'm going in the right direction, right? I'm going in the right direction. I'm saving, I'm investing, I'm paying down my debts, but I don't know if I'm on the most direct path to get to where I'm trying to get. And so I think that's kind of the disconnect for people. And if people, if you do, we do as part of the plan what's called lifetime cash flow analysis. And so, you're able to see how the decisions you make today will affect you long term and run different scenarios.
That's huge for people.
Oh, it's enormous, I think. And so you're able to look at different, different scenarios to say, well, if I did this, here's how this would turn out. If I did this, here's how this would turn out. And you're able to see how those decisions affect you long term. So, typically.
So this is looking at how you're managing your cash, and this is looking at perhaps what you're investing in, is it? And the vehicles you're using to invest?
Yeah. So again, it's once the income comes in and once we pay the bills that we need to pay, then the rest of it, how should it be prioritized? How's it most effectively utilized? Is it paying down debts? If so, which debts are we prioritizing? Is it investing? Is it some mixture of the two? Or, how do we best utilize this money that we have coming in? And those things, particularly for younger people, small things over a long period of time can make you or cost you a lot of money. So these small inefficiencies, if people are, not tackling their debt correctly, if they're not saving or investing correctly, just little things compounded over a long period of time can make you or cost a lot or cost you a lot of money. So, I think by doing that cash flow analysis and people being able to see beyond a reasonable doubt, kind of what are the best avenues for me? What's the best way for me? What's the most direct path for me to get on to go where I'm trying to go? And that provides them, from our experience, a lot of peace of mind. Back on the peace of mind thing is that they look at it and then can feel like, okay, well, now I'm moving forward knowing that what decisions I'm making are the best decisions instead of hoping that the decisions I'm making are the best decisions.
Yeah, no, I love that, because hoping is a bad plan. Like you need to plan. You need to look at, you need to see your know what your end point is, and see what needs to be. Like it's like you sound like you're given a very solid structure to anybody who comes to you, whether it's a business owner or everyday person or a millionaire, whatever, of the path to get there. So a young investor, you hear this kind of, and Andrew, you're working with people, are they investing? Like, investing is sort of a habit as well. If some people can put it off because they're so busy clearing debt, but then they're adding more debt and da. What about most of our success in life is more got to do with our psychology or our mindset sometimes more than the strategy. So, what do you do with that?
Yeah, so behavioral finance, I have a lot of clients that jokingly call me their therapist because, we end up, your behaviors and your habits, your financial habits are what will make you or break you, right? So, we have clients that, I have a young client, a young lady, and she saves a significant amount for how much she makes. And then I have clients that make a whole lot of money, and they, if they save anything, they save very little. So it's not necessarily how much you make, not that doesn't help, but it's your financial habits that will kind of make you or break you. So, again, we hold clients' hands if they need us to. I couldn't think of a better way to say that, but some clients we don't have to, some clients we do, and that's what they're paying us for, is to hold them accountable and make sure that they're getting done the things that they need to get done and help them create those good habits, because they might have created some poor habits that we have to over time kind of get them to correct. And so and then once the good habits are set in, and I'll give you an example. We worked with a guy that sold his business and walked away with, after taxes and everything, walked away with about $16 million. So for most people, they're like, wow. And he was in his mid 50s, and he's like, wow, most people are like, wow, I could live the rest of my life very comfortably based off of 16 million. But he needed, quote unquote, $1 million a year to provide him with the lifestyle that he has grown accustomed to. And
because that's the lifestyle he's used to. Yeah.
Right. So it's hard to make $16 million stretch for 30, 40 years if you're taking out.
But at least he had the brain to know that, because some people come out with $60 million, do nothing with it, and they blow it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, so your habits are very important to your point. Yes, ma'am.
Andrew, we've had an amazing conversation, and personally, I've loved what you've shared with us here today. For anyone listening to this and they want to see their own big picture and they want to build that foundation that we've talked about here, what's that kind of aha you'd like to leave them with?
So the one thing I'll say is that I think people should, and I know I'm partial because it's what I do for a living, but I think that they should work with a professional, and I think that they should interview multiple financial planners or advisors before they decide who to work with, and they should ask them, the right questions. How do they get paid? How would they work with you? What do they do? And I think that most people should expect to pay their financial planner or advisor either hourly or some sort of retainer type monthly or annual financial planning fee or whatever. Otherwise, you're not going to get the time from in a normal, just everyday person, a non-complicated situation. We have 20 to 30 hours in a very basic plan. And so, if I'd say probably 9 out of 10 financial advisors work under the AUM model, where they charge 1% of the assets that they're managing for you. And they're not going to spend a lot of time with you on your other areas, on your cash flow management, things like that. So just interview financial advisors, make sure you understand who you're working with and how they work with clients. And I think that, again, you should expect to pay for their time, or you're not going to get the time that you want.
Yeah, because sometimes we don't think to put the money into, our finances, but yet we could be subscription to, I don't know, video games or whatever it is. I don't know. I'm just coming up with something random.
There's all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff. And it's just like the return of investment has to be huge, because even in our 20-minute conversation, as somebody who's, interviewing people over and over, like, you couldn't have shared anything more important today that is so crucial to somebody's financial success. And, I can tell from talking to you that you would give somebody an all-round financial plan. And it's huge, because it's the difference between you getting to your net worth amount a lot earlier, actually living the way you want to live, and actually being financially free if you make the right choices.
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am. You are correct.
And, Andrew, how does somebody get in touch with you, or how can they find out more about you?
Yeah, so our website is atlasfinancialstrategies.com. You can view our financial planning team there. There's some educational material. You can request a consultation if you'd like. And we also have, not on the site, we have some sample financial plans that you can request from us, just so you can kind of see the depth and breadth of the planning that we do. So that would be the best way. Go to the website. There's multiple ways to reach out to us from there.
And do you do just your area, or are you all over the States, or are you global?
Yeah, we have clients. We're not global. Compliance and the laws around that are difficult.
Yeah, complicated.
Right. But yeah, no, we do work with clients all over. Technology's great, just like you and I have in this conversation today. Technology's great. Doing video conferences and things like that is as close to being face-to-face as possible. So, I have clients that we've been working with for years that I've never shaken their hand before because it's all been over, video conferences or phone calls.
Yeah, and it can be just as effective. So thank you, Andrew. Thank you for being here, and thank you for sharing.
Of course, thank you for having me.
Hey, everyone, remember to join us in the Private Financial Freedom Podcast Facebook group with me, your host, Lorna Poole. This is a safe haven of like-minded, wealth-getting go-getters who, like you, are on their journey to creating financial freedom in their life. This is where you and I can get intimate. I can give you the support and guidance to go from where you are now to where you want to be, developing your wealth mindset and creating your financial freedom life. Join at www.facebook.com/groups The Financial Freedom Podcast. You will see the links to this on the website. It's in the show notes, or type it into the Facebook group. All you have to type in is Financial Freedom Podcast and you will see us there. Look forward to seeing you in the group. Take care. Thank you for joining us on the Financial Freedom Podcast, to creating wealth, investing, and developing your money mindset. To get started today on your journey, head on over to www.lornapoole.com and grab your free course, 5 Steps to Breaking Free from Your Poverty Mindset and Accelerating Your Journey to Financial Freedom. See you there.